Welcome my YouTube family. Please subscribe channel. I hope you enjoy this video. Part 1. The Unexpected Proposition. The elevator doors slid shut with a soft hiss, trapping me inside with the last person I wanted to be alone with at 7 o'clock on a Friday evening. Victoria Monroe stood in the corner, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice sharp and controlled as always. I kept my eyes on the glowing numbers above the door, watching them descend from the 15th floor. Then her phone clattered to the floor. I bent down instinctively to retrieve it, and when I handed it back, I noticed something I had never seen before. Victoria Monroe, the woman who had made grown executives cry during budget meetings, was trembling. Her perfectly manicured hand shook as she took the phone from me. "Thank you, James," she said quietly. Before I could respond, the elevator jolted to a stop between the 9th and 8th floors. The lights flickered once, then stabilized. We both looked up at the emergency panel, then at each other. "Wonderful," she muttered, pressing the emergency call button. A crackling voice came through the speaker. "Maintenance here. We're aware of the issue. Should have you moving in about 20 minutes." 20 minutes! Alone! With Victoria Monroe! I loosened my tie and leaned against the wall, trying to look casual. She did the same on the opposite side, creating as much distance as possible in the confined space. The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. "Long week?" I ventured, immediately regretting the mundane question. She glanced at me, and for the first time in the 3 years I had worked at Cascade Tech Solutions, she actually looked at me like I was a person, not just another employee. "You could say that." Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her jaw tightened. Then it buzzed again, and again. Each notification seemed to drain a little more color from her face. "Are you all right?" I asked. She let out a breath that sounded like it had been trapped in her chest for hours. "My ex-husband is getting remarried tomorrow." I did not know what to say to that, so I just nodded. "To the woman he left me for," she continued, staring at her phone. "And apparently everyone in our social circle will be there. Everyone, except me of course, because I will be alone. Again, just like they all predicted." The bitterness in her voice caught me off guard. This was not the ice-cold executive who had rejected 17 project proposals last month without blinking. This was someone hurt and human. "I am sorry," I said, meaning it. She looked up at me, really studied my face for the first time. "How old are you, James?" 28. "Married? Engaged? Complicated relationship status?" Single," I said, confused by the sudden interrogation. She pushed off the wall and took a step toward me. In the fluorescent lighting of the stalled elevator, I could see the calculation happening behind her eyes, the same look she got right before closing a major deal. "Welcome my YouTube family. Please subscribe channel. I hope you enjoy this video." "I need a favor," she said slowly. "And before you say no, please know that I would not ask if I were not absolutely desperate." My heart started beating faster. "Okay. There is a charity gala tonight, the one Cascade Tech sponsors every year. I am expected to attend, and my ex will be there with his fiancée, celebrating their upcoming wedding. Everyone will be watching me, waiting to see the lonely divorcee fall apart." She paused, her eyes locked on mine. "I need you to come with me, as my date." I blinked. "I am sorry, what?" "Just for tonight. We show up together, stay for 2 hours, and leave. You smile, I smile, we pretend to be a couple, and nobody gets to pity me." Her voice softened. "Please, James, I will make it worth your time." "You do not have to bribe me," I said quickly. "But are you sure about this? I mean, I'm just a marketing coordinator. People will talk." "Let them talk. At least they won't be talking about how pathetic I am." The elevator lurched back to life, beginning its descent. We had maybe 30 seconds before the doors opened. I will do it, I heard myself say. Relief flooded her face. Thank you. Meet me at the Fairmont Olympic at 8. And James, wear your best suit. The doors opened to the lobby. She straightened her shoulders, her professional mask sliding back into place, and walked out without looking back. I stood there for a moment, wondering what I had just agreed to. 3 hours later, I was standing in the lobby of Seattle's most expensive hotel, tugging at the collar of the only decent suit I owned. The gala was already in full swing upstairs, and I was starting to think Victoria had changed her mind when I saw her descending the grand staircase. She wore a navy dress that was elegant and understated, her dark hair pulled back in a way that made her look softer somehow. When she reached me, she gave me a small, approving nod. "You clean up well, James." "So do you," I said, then immediately felt stupid. "I mean, you always look professional, but tonight you look—" She interrupted, but there was a hint of a smile on her lips. "Let us just go in." She looped her arm through mine, and we walked toward the ballroom together. The moment we entered, I felt dozens of eyes turned towards us. The room was filled with Seattle's elite, tech executives, investors, politicians, and somewhere in this crowd was her ex-husband. "Just stay close," Victoria whispered, "and try to look like you actually want to be here." "I do want to be here," I said, surprising myself with the truth of it. She glanced up at me, something unreadable flickering across her face. Then someone called her name, and we were pulled into the current of the party. For the next hour, I played the role of devoted boyfriend. I fetched her drinks, laughed at appropriate moments, and stood close enough that people would believe we were together. Victoria was a natural actress, touching my arm when she spoke, leaning into me during conversations, even calling me darling once when introducing me to a board member. But then I saw him, a tall man with silver hair and a plastic smile, standing near the bar with a much younger woman on his arm. I felt Victoria tense beside me. "That's him," she whispered. He was walking towards us, his fiancée in tow, that same plastic smile firmly in place. "Victoria," he said smoothly, "how wonderful to see you. And who is this?" Victoria's hand found mine and squeezed tightly. "This is James Carter, my boyfriend." The word hung in the air between us. His ex raised an eyebrow, his smile faltering for just a second. "Boyfriend? How unexpected. And what do you do, James?" "I work in marketing," I said, keeping my voice steady. "At Cascade Tech, actually," Victoria added, her chin lifting slightly. "James is brilliant, one of our rising stars." I tried not to show my surprise at the compliment. In 3 years, she had never said anything remotely positive about my work. Her ex's fiancé giggled, a sound like breaking glass. "How sweet! An office romance." "Something like that," Victoria said coolly. The conversation continued for a few more excruciating minutes before they finally moved on. The moment they were out of earshot, Victoria's shoulders sagged. "Thank you," she breathed. "That was harder than I thought it would be." "You did great," I assured her. She looked up at me, and in that moment, standing in the middle of a crowded ballroom with her hand still in mine, something shifted. The pretending didn't feel quite so much like pretending anymore. "James," she said softly, "would you mind if we got some air?" We slipped out onto a balcony overlooking the city. The Seattle skyline glittered below us, the Space Needle lit up in the distance. The cool night air felt good after the stuffy ballroom. "I owe you an apology," Victoria said, leaning against the railing. "I have not been fair to you at work. You are talented, and I've been too caught up in my own issues to notice." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." She turned to face me. "This whole evening, watching you handle every awkward conversation with grace, seeing how kind you are even when you didn't have to be here at all, I realized I've been wrong about a lot of things." I didn't know what to say, so I just stood beside her, looking out at the city. "Can I ask you something?" she said after a moment. "Sure." "Why did you say yes to coming here tonight?" I thought about lying, about giving some professional answer, but standing there with her in the moonlight, I decided on honesty. Because you looked like you needed someone, and I know what that feels like. She studied my face for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached up and adjusted my tie, her fingers brushing against my collar. "You are full of surprises, James Carter." The ballroom doors opened behind us, and voices spilled out into the night. The moment broke, and we both stepped back. "We should probably go back inside," she said, reluctantly. "Probably." But neither of us moved. We stood there, on that balcony, the noise of the party fading into background music, and I wondered if she felt it too, that pull, that connection, that sense that something real was beginning beneath all the pretending. Finally, she took my hand again. "Come on, boyfriend, let us give them something to really talk about." We walked back into the gala together, and for the rest of the night, I forgot we were supposed to be acting. Part 2. When pretending becomes real. The weekend passed in a strange blur. I kept replaying Friday night in my mind, the way Victoria's hand felt in mine, the softness in her eyes when we stood on that balcony, the way she had leaned into me when we said goodbye in the hotel lobby. She had thanked me again, her voice quiet and sincere, and for a moment I thought she might say something more. But then her car arrived and she disappeared into the Seattle night, leaving me standing there with my heart doing things it had no business doing. Monday morning arrived too quickly. I walked into Cascade Tech at 7:30, my usual time, hoping to settle into my desk before the office filled up. But the moment I stepped off the elevator on the 7th floor, I knew something was wrong. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned. Jessica from accounting gave me a look that was equal parts curiosity and amusement. Derek, my cubicle neighbor, raised his eyebrows so high they nearly disappeared into his hairline. "Dude," he hissed as I sat down, "is it true?" "Is what true?" He pulled out his phone and showed me a photograph. It was from the gala. Victoria and me, her arm around my waist, both of us laughing at something. We looked like an actual couple. We looked happy. "Where did you get that?" I asked, my stomach sinking. "It's everywhere. The charity posted photos on their social media. You and the Ice Queen are in like half of them." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "So, are you two actually dating?" Before I could answer, my desk phone rang. Internal line, extension 401, Victoria's office. "I have to take this," I muttered, picking up the receiver. "My office, now." Her voice was clipped, professional, but I could detect a hint of strain underneath. The walk to the executive floor felt like a death march. Everyone watched me go. By lunchtime, the entire building would know that James Carter had been summoned to the COO's office first thing Monday morning. Victoria's assistant, Patricia, gave me a sympathetic smile and waved me through. I knocked once and entered. Victoria stood by the window, her back to me, arms crossed. She wore a charcoal gray suit that meant business, her hair pulled back severely. Every inch the executive again. "Close the door," she said without turning around. I obeyed, my palms suddenly sweaty. "Have you seen the photos?" she asked. "Just now, Derek showed me." She finally turned to face me. Her expression was carefully neutral, but I could see the tension in her jaw. "This is a problem." "I know. HR is going to have questions. The board might have questions. Your colleagues definitely have questions." She moved to her desk, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "We need to decide how to handle this." "What do you want to do?" I asked carefully. She sat down, folding her hands on the desk in front of her. For a long moment she just looked at me, and I could not read her expression at all. "We have 3 options," she said finally. 1, we deny everything, claim we were just networking at a company-sponsored event. 2, we admit it was a one-time favor to help me save face, which makes me look weak, and you look like you were coerced, or—" She trailed off, and the silence stretched between us. 3? I prompted. 3, we tell them we are dating. Actually dating. She said it so calmly, like she was proposing a budget reallocation. It would be the simplest explanation. No scandal, no questions about professional ethics or favoritism, just two consenting adults who happened to work together. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. But we are not actually dating. No, she agreed quietly. We are not. Another silence, heavier this time. Although, she continued, her voice softer now, it would not be the worst cover story. We could maintain it for a few months, let the gossip die down, then have a quiet, amicable breakup. No harm done. I stared at her, trying to process what she was suggesting. You want to fake date? For real this time? A ghost of a smile crossed her lips. I know how that sounds. But James, you were right there on Friday. You saw how people reacted. The pity, the judgment. Being with you made all of that disappear. She paused. And honestly, it was the most normal I have felt in 2 years. I should have said no. It was a terrible idea for about 17 different reasons. But when I opened my mouth, what came out was, what would this actually look like? Relief flickered across her face. Nothing dramatic. Lunch together occasionally, leaving the office at the same time, maybe 1 or 2 public appearances, just enough to make it believable. And at work? We keep things professional. No special treatment, no favoritism. You do your job, I do mine. The only difference is that people think we are together when we leave the building. It sounded so simple when she laid it out like that, so rational, so manageable. Okay, I heard myself say. Let us do it. Something changed in her expression, a softening around the eyes, a loosening of the tension in her shoulders. Thank you, James. I know this is asking a lot. It's fine, I said, though I wasn't sure it was. We'll make it work. And we did, for a while. The first week was awkward. We had lunch together in the cafeteria twice, both of us hyper-aware of the eyes watching us. I learned that Victoria took her coffee black, hated cilantro, and had a dry sense of humor that most people never got to see. She learned that I sketched in meetings when I was thinking, that I had a younger sister in Portland, and that I could make her laugh with terrible puns about marketing metrics. By the second week, it felt almost natural. We developed a rhythm, morning coffee runs together, coordinated lunch breaks, walking to the parking garage side by side at the end of the day. The gossip died down as people got used to seeing us together. But something else was happening too, something neither of us had planned for. It started small. The way she would touch my arm when making a point, letting her hand linger just a second too long. The way I found myself looking for her in crowded meetings, my eyes automatically seeking her out. The way we both started staying late at the office, not for work, but for those quiet moments when everyone else had gone home, and we could just talk. One evening, 3 weeks into our arrangement, I was working late on a presentation when Victoria appeared at my desk. "Still here?" she asked. "Could say the same to you." She smiled. "Want some company? I could use a break from budget reports." She pulled up a chair, and we sat there in the empty office, the city lights twinkling through the windows. We talked about everything and nothing. Her college years, my failed attempt at learning guitar, the best coffee shops in Seattle, and our shared love of old movies. "Can I tell you something?" she said after a while, her voice quiet. "Of course. This thing we're doing, this fake relationship, it's the most real thing in my life right now. Does that make sense?" "Yeah," I said, my throat tight. "It does." She reached out and took my hand, threading her fingers through mine. It wasn't for show this time. There was no one around to see it. It was just us. James, I think we need to talk about what this is actually becoming. My heart hammered in my chest. What do you mean? I mean that somewhere between pretending and reality, I stopped keeping track of which was which. She squeezed my hand. I like spending time with you. I like how you see me as a person, not just a title. I like how you make me laugh at ridiculous puns, and how you listen when I talk about things that have nothing to do with work. Victoria, let me finish, she interrupted gently. I know this started as a convenience, a solution to a problem, but I do not want to keep pretending anymore. I want this to be real, if you want that too. For a moment, I could not speak. All the walls I had carefully built to protect myself from developing actual feelings for her came crashing down. I stopped pretending 3 days in, I admitted. I've been terrified you would figure it out and end this whole thing. She laughed, and it was the most genuine sound I had ever heard from her. We're both idiots. Completely, I agreed. She stood up, pulling me to my feet, and suddenly we were standing very close. Her perfume, jasmine and something citrusy, filled the space between us. So what now? I asked. Now, she said, reaching up to adjust my collar in that way she had started doing, we stop pretending. We see where this actually goes. No more fake dates, just real ones. Your ex-husband is going to love this, I said with a grin. She laughed again. Oh, I do not care what Marcus thinks anymore. This is not about him. This is about us. Us, I repeated, liking the sound of it. Is that okay? She asked suddenly, uncertain. I know I'm your boss, and this could complicate things, and I kissed her. Not dramatically, not like in the movies. Just a soft, simple kiss that said everything I had been holding back for weeks. When we pulled apart, she was smiling. Really smiling. The kind of smile that transformed her entire face. I should probably talk to HR tomorrow, disclose the relationship officially, make sure we're following proper protocol. Very responsible, I teased. I am always responsible, she said primly. Then added with a mischievous glint in her eye, except when I'm cornering my employees in elevators and asking them to be my fake boyfriend. Best worst decision you ever made, I suggested. The very best, she agreed. 6 months later, I stood in that same elevator, heading up to the 15th floor. But this time, Victoria was beside me, her hand in mine, and there was nothing fake about it. We had weathered the HR meetings, the raised eyebrows from the board, and the endless speculation from our colleagues. We had gone on real dates, hiking in the Cascades, trying new restaurants in Capitol Hill, spending lazy Sundays at Pike Place Market. We had fought about work boundaries and learned how to separate professional disagreements from personal feelings. We had grown together. The elevator doors opened, and she squeezed my hand before letting go. At work, we maintained professionalism, but everyone knew, and more importantly, everyone had stopped caring. See you at lunch? She asked. Wouldn't miss it, I replied. She walked toward her office, and I headed to my desk, where Derek was waiting for his inevitable commentary. You know, he said as I sat down, when you first started dating the boss, I thought it would be a disaster. And now? I asked, already knowing where this was going. Now, I think you're both disgustingly happy, and it's actually kind of inspiring. Who knew the Ice Queen would melt for a marketing nerd? I just smiled and turned on my computer. He wasn't wrong. What had started as a desperate favor in a stalled elevator had become the best thing that ever happened to both of us. Sometimes the best relationships start with a little bit of pretending. You just have to be brave enough to stop pretending and let it become real. And I was glad we did. The end.